Sound awakens something deep within. Welcome to this podcast, a space to slow down, tune in, and return to the song of your soul. In this episode, I am joined by David Christopher Lewis, who is the founder of the Hearts Center community, Meru University, and Paradise Permaculture Institute. He's a teacher, composer, and author. Guided by telepathic messages from the Ascended Masters, he founded the Hearts Center in 2005 to share their teachings, known as HeartStreams, which inspire people to awaken their inner divinity and co-create a culture of joy and enlightenment. Today, the Hearts Center has blossomed into a global movement with groups across the Americas, Europe, Africa, and Australia. Hey David, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to have you on my podcast.
It's my pleasure too. Thank you so much, Lakshmi.
So I wanted to ask you how your journey has started to starting Heart Center that you are managing right now.
Well, first of all, I grew up Catholic, yet when I was 14, I found Edgar Cayce, and that was my entree into an understanding of karma and reincarnation, which was the only thing that made sense because it explains everything, why everything is happening because of what we've done in the past, and we're reaping what we've sown. So that began a journey of studying teachings of East and West, not just Christianity or Catholicism, but the Eastern teachings, which eventually led to me finding an Ascended Master organization called the Summit Lighthouse when I was 18, and then going to their university, serving at a local teaching center, which was like an ashram, which I helped found in Minneapolis when I was 19. And then when I was 20, I was called to serve on their staff. So I served on the staff for about 25 years, and having all these beautiful inner experiences with the Ascended Masters, which included the Indian deities, because we were introduced to all the Vedic teachings, the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and the Mahabharata, and an understanding of Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and their consorts. And we started singing bhajans in about 1978, and that became a very big deal for us. And when I would sing the bhajans, it was just, I was in my upper chakras and bliss and in devotion to the deities. And I felt that I had been embodied in India many times because it was so natural to feel the energy of these beautiful divine beings that have been chanted to for millennia in India. So that really was a shift for me. And, we started wearing what we call Guru Ma garments, which were more Eastern, and wearing Rudraksha beads and all that. And it was fun. It was exciting. It was very natural. So coming full circle, when I was 48, I had a mystical experience, and Jesus came to me with a master named Kuthumi and initiated me. I didn't know what would happen. It was kind of like a new thing for me, for the master to come to me and actually communicate. They gave me this gift of clairaudience. Clairaudience is clear hearing. So I telepathically can receive direct teachings from ascended beings, including the Eastern deities, angels, archangels, choirs of heaven, and many, many divine beings, including all the ones that you know from Hinduism, including Surya, Vishnu, Brahma, Saraswati, especially Shiva, a lot from Shiva, and Durga, and all these beautiful beings of light. They come with their radiance. They come with their energy field that is so transcendent, so amazing, so divine and beautiful. And the radiance of their presence is what is stunning. and what brings me great joy, great love, great devotion to God. So it highlights my path, which is more of a bhakti yoga path of devotion, because I feel that divine love is the clearest and most direct path to God within ourselves, of course, yet also throughout the universe. So when these masters started coming one after another, because Jesus told me to meditate, and I had been more of a person of prayer, a lot of prayer, 90 minutes to 2 hours a day of deep devotional prayer. Well, but I wasn't really a master at meditation. So when Jesus came, he said, David, meditate every day. So what I understood from that was that I had to be in a quiet state of stillness and receptivity to receive the divine intimations of God through many emissaries, these beings of light, the ascended masters, to then deliver to mankind what would come through our dispensation. And I'm not the only messenger. There are many, many beautiful teachers of light throughout the world, and we're all working together in one sense toward the Aquarian Age, the dawning of this new age. Beyond the Kali Yuga, which is a very difficult time, now many are awakening, many are coming to realize who they truly are as God-created beings of light. And so it's just a joyful daily affair with God, loving God with my whole being, and God in many faces, many facets, both male and female, representatives of the divine. And I don't see any disparity with having one eternal God, the source of all, yet many faces of the divine one. And Hinduism, what you grew up with, explains this in a very beautiful way. And also Hinduism is accepting of other religions and not judging them, because there are many paths to the summit, and each person is walking their path. And as long as we work together with an understanding that there are many paths, there's not just one way, then we are compassionate. We're in the space of harmony and truth and understanding that honors everyone for what they have experienced of God through the path that they walk.
Your journey is just amazing, David. Thank you for sharing. And when you say HeartStreams, what are these? Are these clear audience messages that you receive?
Yes, Saint Germain gave me that term, which I love. Now, a lot of people think I'm a channel. I don't really use that term, although I do, in effect, channel the energy and the message. Yet it is beautiful in that I'm conscious, I'm fully conscious, I'm not in a trance. I'm aware of the master's presence, which is tangible. It is a power energy. It is a radiant light. And we call the transmission a heart stream, because from and through my heart, I'm streaming light as well as the message from the master. So it is very special. It is very divinely overshined, or I'm overshined by the divine. And if I don't feel the energy of the master's presence, I cannot deliver something. It would just be through David. So there are different types of heart streams. One is called a dictation, which is primarily the master speaking right through me in this clairaudient way. Then there are darshans, which we know what a darshan is with the experience with the master's presence. In this case, it's a question and answer session where students can ask questions of the master and the master responds through me. But my mind is more engaged in that rather than just the master. And sometimes the master will ask the students questions, and then they will have to draw from within them the wisdom that they've gleaned. And then there's also discourses, which is more of my mind yoked to the master's mind, and I'm speaking on their behalf, but it's not only them, it's partly through my own mind. Now, even the dictations come through me, of course, and there's a filter of my consciousness. So it's not like 100% perfect in terms of only the master's energy and message. Yet I try to get out of the way and allow them to speak as authentically and perfectly as they would like to deliver. Because in the human form, we're not going to be perfect. There are little hiccups here and there, and I'm trying to glean a word sometimes that I can't quite grasp out of the ethers. So sometimes there's little interruptions. Yet I do my best to kind of surrender my human ego and allow the divine to speak as God intends through that the various deities or masters or angels that come. So it's always a quickening, an acceleration of light. When I'm with a bunch of people, let's say in a hall or a large room, everyone feels the presence of the master, if they're sensitive, of course. And the energy is raised, the energy is elevated. We all feel this energy of the Holy Spirit, or in the case of Eastern teachings, Shiva, as a tangible reality, and is so stupendous and energetic and beautiful that we're just in bliss many times. And so even though I'm also partly clairvoyant, because the masters do open my vision to see things, it's almost a blessing that I don't always see everything, because I would be in ecstasy and then I couldn't deliver the message. So it's primarily clairaudience. Now, the Catholic Church calls that locution. So it's the transfer of the message of the master or God through a master in a very direct way. Yet it still comes through the vessel of my consciousness. So, people have to discern, and they use their own discernment of what they will receive and accept as, let's say, an eternal truth or a divinely inspired message. So I don't claim to be perfect in any way. It's just, I'm just a vehicle for the divine.
Beautiful instrument.
Yes, an instrument.
So, David, do these messages come through you and to you when you're in a group setting, or does it happen at a certain time of the day?
Well, both. In other words, when I first started receiving them, it was private, just to me, and I would write them down. And the writing was so fast, I couldn't keep up with what was coming through my mind. I had to write, very, very fast. Fortunately, I have pretty good handwriting, because I grew up Catholic and we were, taught good handwriting. Then at a certain point, I could type faster than I could write, because I studied typing in high school and I got pretty good at it, and maybe 45 to 50 words per minute. So I could type faster, and the stream of what was coming through was so quick that I could just barely keep up with that. After a number of months, it took maybe 7 months, finally one day the master said, okay, we're going to come and speak now through you. So that was a major change, and it was daunting. It was, different. I wasn't used to anything like this. Yet I realized that for years I had kind of prepared in one sense, because I would read scripture out loud when I prayed a rosary, a daily rosary, which was a New Age rosary. And between the Hail Marys from the Western tradition, I would read a scripture out loud. And so my voice was actually engaged in reading sacred words. And I realized many, years later, oh, that was preparatory for me actually delivering the sacred words of the masters. So it was very humbling and very dynamic. And yet, after I began to do it, I had to trust God that I would just surrender and do my best. And even if there were mistakes or little hiccups here and there, I just let go of that, don't judge myself, and allow God to do it through me. So that's kind of the process, handwriting to typing to then speaking. Now, in terms of groups or private, I still get some privately that I will read later. So sometimes I awaken to 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning, And it's very easy to receive a heartstream then because there's no noise in my home and the world. Everyone's sleeping. Everything is still. That's the easiest way for me to actually receive things. But when I'm in a group setting, let's say we broadcast every morning from somewhere in the United States or abroad for 90 minutes, and if it's a Wednesday or Sunday, I'll deliver a live message with a group of people. And then we have many conferences and events where, of course, there's many, many people in the room. So it varies. Some of the most interesting dictations or heartstrings have been delivered when I'm driving a vehicle. And this has actually happened a number of times. I'll be driving and the master dictates. Unfortunately, I have a little recording device like this in my car, and I'll just deliver the message. And I'm amazed at how perfect it was, even though I'm engaged in driving, because guess what? My lower nature is not part of this. It's my higher self that's the vehicle for it. And then another interesting thing has been when I was in Mexico, I'll be in a in a in a square with people walking by, making a lot of noise. Yet when I'm in communion with God and the Master, the message still comes, even though there's a lot of noise. So when you trust the process and you're just surrendered to what God is doing, God is amazing. The divine masters are beautiful and they do it in spite of our human foibles or imperfections.
It is true. Yep. Yeah. And that's beautiful, like how you can communicate these messages in different ways through writing, through speaking them out, and also through recording while you're driving. That's like very intriguing. And still, you're focused on what you're doing humanly possible.
Yeah, the word comes through me. So like in the Old Testament of the Holy Bible, there are many prophets and messengers. They were basically messengers or prophets. And in the Bible, it would say, and the word of the Lord came unto me and said, and then the prophet would speak. That's really what happens to me. The word of the Lord comes unto me, and then I just speak. So, how did this happen? Why was I chosen? Well, I was on the path since I was very young, prayed 1.5 to 2 hours virtually every day, and I surrendered my life to God. I gave my life to God. I consecrated my whole being to the divine. And when you do that, and I figured at one point, I had prayed for at least 10,000 hours in my life. Probably now it's probably 20 or 30,000 hours. When you get good at something because you do it repetitively in a way that is gracious and holy, you build a momentum, and that momentum becomes a part of your aura, and the light starts generating and regenerating great divine energy. And so my chakras were cleared, my aura was cleared to be a clear vessel. So that's really what it took, is 30 years of deep spiritual work on myself and within the groups that I was part of in order to prepare me for this. So it really was a lifelong process since I was 18 years old. And even before then, I studied Edgar Cayce and the Essene teachings and the Korean Gospel of Jesus the Christ and the life and teachings of the Masters of the Far East, which was a 5-volume set that was amazing, where Jesus was in India and did all these amazing things. And so, my whole life was really given to this process of self-realization, enlightenment, and then ultimately being a vehicle for God to use. And I had written many goals in my life to be like a priest, like a priest, but really a minister, to minister to people, to help people. And that's really what I did for those 30 years. I helped in many, many ways. I counseled people. I spoke to people on the phone and in person. I helped at registration for conferences. So I did a lot of preparatory things. And I led many, many, many prayer services over the years. And by God's grace, I got pretty good at it because I was chosen to lead major services many, many times. We would pray on Saturday nights. We'd pray on Sunday during the day. We'd pray in the mornings. You know, we had services Friday nights. We had a healing service Wednesday night. So we always had these services. So I led many of them. So I was very focused on the living word of of God through decrees, which are spoken prayers. And because I had a momentum on that, there was an energy of power, of the Holy Spirit, grace and power coming through my voice. And this is true of many people, who pray very fervently and yet humbly. So I think all of that was preparatory.
Basically, there's a lot of preparation that goes into what
Yes.
you are today.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is amazing. Thank you. And so David, you talked earlier about Jesus going to India, and I've heard from many people that he did learn Kriya Yoga. Is that true?
I absolutely believe it. Not only India, but Tibet. He studied with rishis. He studied with great masters. He obviously studied the sacred scriptures, which existed prior to, when he was born in that lifetime. I believe that he was embodied many times before he was Yeshua or Isa or Jesus. And he was David, the prophet who wrote the Psalms and sang them with a harp. And actually, if some of the Psalms actually kind of pre-indicative of his coming as Jesus later. He was in the Bible, Joseph of the coat of many colors, one of, I think, 12 sons of this one man. And he was the youngest, I believe, or either the youngest or second youngest. And his brothers sold him off to slavery. And then later, it's a whole story working into Egypt, where he actually saved his brothers and his father later. He was Elisha, the disciple of Elijah, who was a previous embodiment of John the Baptist. And he was Joshua, who blew the trumpets and Jericho walls fell. So he was all those personages. I'm sure he had other embodiments in India, and I'm sure that he knew Buddha and knew other great beings of light and studied the ancient teachings of the Vedic tradition, because how could he heal? How could he change water into wine? How could he calm the storms? How could he walk on the water? He learned all of this divine science in the East because they were the great masters, the ancient masters and teachings of the Vedic tradition. So, of course, he learned from great rishis and yogis. And one of my favorite images that I have in my home is an image of Jesus in the lotus, meditating. So absolutely, he traveled to the Far East, and those were the lost years. But between the time when he was 12 and 30, the Bible doesn't speak of what he did during that time. Well, obviously, he traveled and studied ancient teachings and scriptures and practiced and became a great meditator and a great healer.
And you also mentioned that your spiritual side has started with Edgar Casey, right? And
Correct.
Edgar Casey talked about how sound is the future of medicine. Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Absolutely. Well, everything is vibration. Everything has a frequency. And sound is the emanation of a frequency and a vibration. We have vocal cords, right, as part of our voice box. And so when we speak, those cords are vibrating and create sound. And the sounds are words or songs. So because everything has a vibration, disease has a frequency. And, whether cancer of different parts of the body, whatever. And when you understand the divine science of the science of divine sound and frequency, you can match certain frequencies and either eliminate or transmute cancer and disease, or you could just blast it with light and sound. And so I think in the golden age of Aquarius, the major healing modalities will involve light and sound. And it's already happening. And there are devices that have been developed that utilize sound to alleviate suffering, alleviate pain. And many, many more new age doctors and healers are using sound therapy, singing bowls, both the crystal bowls and the ones that are made out of metal, like in Nepal and Tibet. And because sound created the universe, the the Om, well, sound can recreate us in perfection and our divine estate of perfect well-being and health. So when you use sacred sounds and you chant, whether it's a bhajan, whether it's a seed syllable, these very powerful little syllables that relate to the chakras, and you understand this divine science, you can project through the energy of sound a specific frequency that transforms or transmutes matter. And we are co-creators with God. So we are given the authority to use sound and to use our voices to create, because why would God create human beings unless we have the ability to be God-like and be co-creators? So this is one of the major shifts in awareness for everyone on earth, is to realize that we're co-creators and we're endowed with this ability to co-create through our voices, through the sacred words that we speak. And in the Western Ascended Master tradition, we say the name of God as I am that I am, or I am for short. While in the East, the Aum is sacred, and that really was the sacred sound that created everything, like at the Big Bang. So when we understand this divine science and we use it conscientiously, reverently, holily, it becomes a means for the transmutation of all darkness and disease and evil and negativity into beingness, light, generosity, holiness, purity. So we as initiates and as those who can initiate cycles of light and glory and beauty and harmony are given this authority to do this special work to help everyone of all cultures, all religions, all persuasions. And so when we chant together, when we sing together sacred melodies and songs and bhajans especially, the group dynamic enters into the equation, where there's a multiplication factor based on the geometrization of that sound through a number of people all singing together in unison. And it is powerful when you have thousands of people, hundreds or thousands, all singing and chanting together. It is amazing, and it can transform the world almost in an instant. It can dissolve war, can dissolve conflict. So the more that we group together, come together in groups, and the sacred work of the Spirit, and chant together and sing together and pray together, the more powerful the energy is generated and the more dynamic the alchemy of that experience can be to co-create the new world that we're seeking, which is a world of peace, brother, sisterhood, and divine love.
And what is an Aquarian age?
Well, there are the yugas, and these are epics of time based on the precession of the equinoxes and the movement of the stars and the planets. We are entering a 2150-year cycle of Aquarius that's based on an understanding of the Great Year, which Sri Yukteswar, who was a a guru of Paramahansa Yogananda taught him. And Sri Yukteswar may have gotten it from Lahiri Mahasaya, who got it from maybe Babaji. An understanding of all of these heavenly cycles of the 24,000 year cycle, or 12 times 2150, maybe 25,000 something year cycle. So we're coming out of a dark era of the Kali Yuga into a new era where we're closer to the central sun and vibration. You know, our solar system is closer to the center of our galaxy. There's more light, there's more divine energy that's focused and then bringing this enlightening spirit to humanity. We're waking up again, right? So mankind's in this process of awakening. After the awakening is the illumination, then the enlightenment, and finally the full self-realization of who we truly are. And I love Yogananda. I was born on Yogananda's birthday, January 5th. And I love the Kriya Yoga teachings because it teaches you how to basically be anointed every day by the Spirit when you meditate in silence and do the Kriyas, and you're in that state of divine oneness. So the Aquarian Age is an age of true brother-sisterhood, enlightenment, and divine love that we together are generating through our individual self-realization of who we are as God-created beings of light, sons and daughters of God, and through many forms of meditation, whether it's Shakti meditation, whether it's Kriya meditation, whether it's Surya meditation, which I love, meditation with the sun early in the morning. And this was, we had a gentleman come to our conference who did Surya yoga or meditation early in the morning as the sun was rising. And it's safe to actually look at the sun within the first hour only, but you start with 10 seconds and add another 10 seconds daily. And he would do this for over 45 minutes. And he got to the point where he didn't have to eat anymore because he was getting all the energy that his body required from the sun. So this is an ancient art and science that's coming back to humanity. It's part of the Aquarian cycle of teaching that we will use these solar sciences of the spirit again to create this golden crystal age of Aquarius. So it's a approximately 2,000 or 2,150 year cycle, and it's a shift. In the precession of the equinoxes, there's an alignment with the constellation Aquarius. So that's what's happening. For Jesus' time, the last 2,000 years, it was the age of Pisces. So after the age of Aquarius, because the precession is going backwards, Pisces, Aquarius, then we'll have a 2,150 year cycle of Capricorn. So it's interesting how this progresses. This great year was taught by the ancients, and there's even a video of it that's very beautiful, the great year, with the teachings of Sri Yukteswar and an understanding of this dynamic. So I think many of us came into embodiment consciously to help foster the age of Aquarius coming into manifestation. We chose to come back to teach, to help, to heal, to enlighten. And I'm sure you did. And a lot of the people who are part of your audience, they've chosen to serve, to come back. Why? Because we're creating this together.
So I was listening to some of your HeartStreams, David, and I think particular ones were on Hanuman and Babaji. And when I was listening to Babaji's, there was this one particular HeartStream where he was talking about how the Divine Mother comes to you as a spark of lightning. Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Well, when you raise the Kundalini from the base to the crown and through the heart, there is a resparking of the love in your heart that pushes that light up to the crown. And then there's like this flowering, and I feel it just talking about it, and you probably do too, where the energy of the Divine Mother is expressive, and it's like a sacred anointing There's a shower of light that comes upon you. And in meditation, when you are in deep reflection and silence and stillness, and you quiet the mind, and you're actually in that quiescent state where there's no vibration, there's no sound, there's nothing save God. You enter into the divine. There's no movement, there's nothing save that perfect stillness. The Divine Mother comes, and she anoints us with light, and she re-sparks us with the Shakti energy of her presence that is so powerful that you can be in ecstasy and remain there as long as you can, to feel that perfect love, that holiness, that perfection of everything and nothing simultaneously. It's like it's the void, the cosmic void, yet it's not, it's pure spirit, energy, fire, light that enfolds you. So when the Divine Mother comes and she re-sparks a son or a daughter in that perfect love, which is grace, which is holiness, which is just purity, there's nothing else that you desire to do save to love God with your whole being and to be in that state of ecstatic, perfect love. And that love actually creates, because when two people come together in pure love, they can create a child, right? Well, they create the form of the child, yet the spirit of the child descends into the form. We are in the process of spiritualizing matter and materializing spirit simultaneously. So as above, so below, we raise the energy of matter into spirit, and simultaneously we spiritualize matter through divine light and love and joy. This alchemy of this experience is the igniting and the infiring of all that is within the sacred space that we hallow life in through our own life. We hallow space through our life, live to the glory of God. So we have a spark inside of our heart. It's called the threefold flame: love, wisdom, and power, or love, wisdom, and faith. And when that spark and that light is burning brightly, it emanates this amazing aroma. It emanates a geometric matrix of perfection, like sacred geometry, like the Sri Yantra. It emanates through this aroma. Many times I will smell like roses or something with a combination of different aromas that are beautiful. It's almost like something that a woman would put on, before you go into the world, like, and I've experienced the aroma of the masters, especially the Eastern deities, when I sing bhajans, when we are in harmony with, especially when I sing to the female deities. It's not just Shiva or Krishna or Hanuman or, Vishnu or Rama, but when we sing to Lakshmi, Durga, Saraswati, that's when I often will smell this beautiful aroma of the deity. And sometimes I'm trying to discern, wow, I can sense like 3 or 4 different aromas all in one. So the spark that the Divine Mother brings is to get us closer to God, to help us feel God deeply inside of us, so that we can always rest in that presence and remain in that state of pure love of God. So to me, this is my path, is the love of God with my whole being, body, mind, strength, soul, heart, mind, strength, and soul. As Jesus said, the great commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, all your strength, and all your soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. If everybody did that in all religions, we wouldn't have any problems, right? So when you love God, you're loving God as Father and Mother. In the West, it was always about God the Father. Well, the East has had the Divine Mother for eons. Now, finally, we're recognizing God as Father and Mother. as really one, but in two forms that are really one. Even those two forms really are still one. There's a oneness. So whether it's, Brahma and Sarasvati together, Vishnu and Lakshmi together, whether it's Shiva and Parvati together, they're really kind of like one. And even the Trimurti, the Aum, the Aum, it's still one, even though we think of them as separate in one sense. It's still oneness. So when Shiva comes or excites us, and then the Divine Mother or Hanuman, that was Babaji, right? So when Babaji said this, what I perceive is that the spark of the Divine Mother's love for us comes and kindles within us such a transcendent Shakti energy that we're instantly transformed in the twinkling of an eye with this charge. It's like electricity of lightning. And you had your experience this morning with that, or last night, or whatever. So it's like the lightning of the Divine Mother is the Shakti energy precipitated in this dimension that gives us pause to glorify God and say, how great is God? How great is my Lord? How great is the Divine Mother? And then we revel in that. We feel that. We accept that as part of us. And that's when we have the mystical union of our hearts with the heart of the Divine Mother. And then we're one. We're just one.
What does it take to experience that spark?
Surrender, perfect love, humility, purity. So to me, the three greatest virtues are love, divine love, purity, and humility. Because on the path, there's wisdom, which I love, yet I know people that are very wise, but they're not as loving as they could be. I think love, divine love, puts together the conceptualization of everything and the sacred space where then we can really know God fully. We know God fully. And the quietude and the silence, the great silence or the stillness of our presence is that place where we can really experience and feel that in its multidimensional way, beyond form, beyond limitation, and the universality of the eternal presence. So how do we feel God? We have to generate love through our hearts. We have to generate it through devotion, through praise, through thanksgiving. So praise, devotion, and thanksgiving create the framework and the sacred space that's spaceless and timeless, though, where we can know God fully as love, as pure love and pure light and pure joy. So for me, when I pray, I try to feel the words that I'm saying. It's not just repeating words over and over. That won't do it. You have to feel and see and experience the words of what you're saying or singing with pure devotion, pure focus, pure laser-like concentration. And when you have that laser-like concentration where you're feeling in your whole being what you're saying, then it's active. It's real. There's no difference between the speaking of the words and the fulfillment of that prayer. It's all happening simultaneously. So because I prayed so much and I tried to feel and experience the words of the prayer, it created a portal through which that light would come and I could know God inside of me and everywhere. And you have to regenerate it every day, though, because every day is a new opportunity to re-experience God. So you get up early before the sun preferably comes up. I was up very early this morning and I I did my energization exercises of Paramahansa Yogananda back on our porch, back porch. I took a sauna, doing my rosary and my devotional prayers. I showered. I did my 20-minute meditation in silence, doing my mantra, silent mantra. All that was just the beginning of my day. And now I'm here with you, loving you and your audience and God through you. And so you have to get up early and do whatever ritual works for you, but make it a sacred ritual, and let meditation definitely be part of it. I talked to a guy the other day, and he meditates for 2 hours every day. And I was really impressed with that. I'm a busy guy and I do a lot of things, but it would be harder for me to set aside with my schedule 2 full hours. But if somebody can do that, praise God, that's awesome. Yeah.
It's beautiful. And the other heart stream I was listening to was Hanuman's, and he was talking about the I am presence. So is that the same I am as where we are the co-creators of this reality?
Yes, the I am presence is our divine self. It is like the solar presence. It's like a sun-like energy of our true nature. The Buddhas would call it the Buddha nature. You could say it's a individualized version of Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva all in one that we each have. Just a miniature Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva combined above us in vibration, but really within us, inside of us. So it's our true self, our divine nature. So that's the I am presence. And when we contact that and we feel that presence, it's pure holiness, it's pure light, it's pure joy, all the virtues of God, all in one, like a little ball of pure light that's just God. There's nothing else save God. And we each have an individualized I am presence. Because we were created in the image and likeness of God. That's what the Bible says, right? We're created in the image and likeness of God. So really, God is like a great central sun, like Surya, and we're many suns. And that's our true nature. And in the Golden Age, the master Omram Mikhail Ivanov, his name was Mikhail Ivanov. He was born in what now is Bulgaria, taught in France for nearly 50 years. He went to India and met with very high beings. And a being that was associated with Babaji gave him the name Om Ram, and that he was like an emanation of Vishnu and other lifetimes. So he's like a great spiritual world teacher. So he taught that in the Golden Age, Surya Yoga would be the new yoga that would encompass all other yogas. And it's the yoga of the sun god, Surya, where we receive the rays of light from the sun every morning. They come into us. They helped us to flower in our divinity and to feel all these expressive components of who and what God is inside of us and and manifest through our life. So I still love Kriya Yoga. I still love Raja Yoga. I still love Hatha Yoga. I still love, all the other yogas are beautiful and they work for the people that really are dedicated to that path. All these yogas, Kriya is phenomenal. They're all going to be part of like an umbrella of Surya Yoga. That's what he said. I believe that. So the sun is the greatest example of God in our neck of the universe, our part of the universe, because for over 4 billion years, it's been pouring out light through the union of hydrogen atoms becoming helium. That's what the sun is. It's fusion of hydrogen becoming helium. And through that fusion, it's nuclear energy, but it's actually not fission, it's fusion, which is different. It's the fusing of hydrogen atoms to create this giant ball of light that gives life to all of us on Earth and all other planets and other dimensions on other planets. It wouldn't be in our dimension because we couldn't see the life on Venus or Mercury or Jupiter or Saturn because it's in a different dimension. We couldn't see with our physical eyes. But there's all this life in the universe, and every star system, every star is a son of God, S-U-N, but also an S-O-N, or let's say son, daughter of God. Every star is like, and by the way, most stars are binary stars. So they're twin flame stars throughout the universe. I discovered that in that video, The Great Year, that I don't know how many, 90% or more of all the stars in the universe are binary stars. So there's two stars together, right? That are working together. That's alpha and omega. That's male, female. So really, the stars are like us. They're just more advanced. So yeah, it's when Hanuman came, he's amazing. He's very strong, energetic, and powerful. And so his words to me ring with this majesty. He's an amazing divine being, Hanuman.
He speaks faster. He speaks faster when you pray to him.
Yes. Very fast.
Yeah. So thank you, David, for your time today. It was beautiful. Thank you for all the wisdom you've shared so kindly. We truly appreciate your time.
I love you, Lakshmi Pooja, and I wish the best for your channel and your podcasts. And I pray that many people will see this and then partake of other offerings that you bring to the world, because you're a beautiful soul. And it's really nice knowing you now.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much for your time.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thanks for tuning in. Take a deep breath, carry the peace with you, and I will see you next time.